Hey guys, it's Anastasia and welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're all having a beautiful day. Today I will be doing a Q&A, but this is not just your plain old Q&A video. This is actually a collab edition for a collab that I'm doing with my lovely, beautiful, amazing YouTube friend, Elsden. What we're going to be doing is each of us came up with a list of questions to ask each other, and we're going to be answering the questions on our own respective channels. So if you'd like to check out the questions that I came up with for Carol to answer and her answers to them so that you can get to know her a little bit better, please hop on over to her gorgeous, exquisite channel and show her some love. Subscribe. Carol is so unique and so intriguing and interesting, and yeah.
What have you always wanted and did you ever get it?
Something that I've always wanted was a dog. When I was little, I used to be obsessed with the idea of getting a puppy, and my parents were always adamantly against it. And one day, my dad was just like, you know what, life is too short and I want a German Shepherd. So yes, I did get a puppy after all.
Have you ever danced in the rain?
No, and I'm so disappointed in that because I really want to.
Do you have anyone you go to for advice, in person or online, who and why?
The two people that I go to for advice mostly are my parents, just because I know that they genuinely care for me and they want the best for me. So I'll find those are the people that I would go to. When it comes to more things like careers or like specific projects or advice, that sort of advice, I would probably go to a couple of my old college professors because they were mentors to me. So I'd probably go to them. And then online, I really wish there was someone that I could go to for advice, but I haven't found that person yet. I think I get really great advice from just a lot of people online, just from like, oh gosh. I definitely benefit from getting a lot of really amazing advice from people online, from like their content, so YouTubers and other people on the internet, but I wouldn't say there's like a go-to person. It'd be amazing to find them though.
Have you ever been in love?
Never been in love, which is another answer that devastates me, because when there's an emotion that is so celebrated throughout the history of humanity, something so powerful that kind of like has the power to color the world differently. I'd love to say that I've experienced that firsthand and can like tap into the emotions that these writers have been writing about and musicians have been singing about and artists have been painting about, but fortunately it hasn't happened yet. But I'm keeping my eyes peeled for someone to just like fall head over heels with.
What would you want the film of your life to look like? Describe the aesthetic, art direction, what is the plot? By the way, I stole that question from you.
As for the aesthetic and the art direction, I think that I would want it to kind of match basically the aesthetic that I try to impose onto everything that has any relationship to me, which is black and white, like basically grayscale, monochrome, so like shades of white, shades of gray, shades of black, not much color. A lot of layers and dimension within that like very simple color story, so a lot of layers to an environment. There's so many wasps here. But within that very limited color palette, there will be moments, there will be like windows into these other worlds. So windows into these really vibrant worlds of like overwhelming color, like bright moody blues and lush greens, and just like these worlds that you kind of tap into at only precise moments in the narrative. So it's like a relief from the overwhelming pure white or black or gray colors. So sort of like a balance between dark and light, romantic minimalism with a magical element. That makes a lot of sense, Anastasia. What is the plot? I feel like I can't give this away without like a massive spoiler alert, and I don't want to give away any spoilers because I feel like the answer to this question, the plot to like my life, is sort of a plot that I've been kind of living with for a while and kind of tinkering with in my mind for a story that I'm working on. So I won't give it away just yet.
What song describes your soul?
The song that describes my soul is probably Precipitate by Interpol. Pretty much any Interpol song, but specifically Precipitate, which is like a B-side. But something about it, it's not even not even the sense behind the lyrics, which, I mean, if you are ever capable of like pinpointing the exact sense to the Interpol lyrics, you're a genius, because I don't even think Paul, who wrote the lyrics, knows what they mean. So it's not so much like the meaning to the lyrics, but just the feelings and the emotions and like the vibes that I get kind of speak to my soul. That answer was also just off the top of my head, so if I gave it more thought, it might be something else, but it would probably still be an Interpol song. Potential runners-up could be Leif Erikson, which is like my all-time favorite song, simply for there's like a climactic moment in the song where like if you listen to the studio version, you'll probably know what I mean, but it's just like the sound effect where the song kind of switches gears, and just that moment, like my soul lives in that precise moment in the song. And how bizarre is it that just a sound, just a moment, just like a transitional moment in a song where there's not even any lyrical component to it, it's just noise, like that can resonate so powerfully with the person. It's amazing, you know? There's a very strange alchemy at work when we listen to music.
What is the best compliment you have ever received?
I think that the best compliment I ever received, it's a tie between two. One is when people say that I have a beautiful brain. It sounds so silly, but like people have wrote that in my comments, like a magical mind or like something like that, which, I mean, firstly, I think we all do, but as a personal compliment, it's just so nice to hear, because it reminds me that like I live in my mind. Like my mind is basically my world, you know, like my thoughts kind of construct the world around me, how I kind of think about things, what I think about, what I spend my time dwelling on. It basically constructs the world around me. So to hear that it's like a beautiful place, it reminds me that yes, it's true, like I love myself, I love my thoughts, even though it's a difficult place to be sometimes. Ultimately, you know, I love myself, and I can enjoy my company, and I can come up with kind of amazing things, and like amazing things can start in my head, and I don't know, it just reminds me to kind of love myself ultimately, I think. So that's a great compliment. And I think probably the greatest compliment I've ever gotten is literally like from one of you guys. The fact that I inspired you, or like I make your life better, or I make it easier for you to kind of cope with things that you're going through, and to feel powerful and phenomenal and magical. Like that's an amazing compliment. Like that makes my life, like that makes me so happy. It's the greatest compliment for sure. I don't have to explain anymore. That's just amazing, and it makes me feel amazing. So
I personally think you're a really unique person. What makes you look at life differently?
just like the constant realization that, well, first of all, our time here is so short, so like we should use as much of our time as possible to actually take a good long look at the world around us, and to see the beautiful things in it, because like we'll be gone, and there are so many beautiful things in it that it just seems like such a waste of time to not observe and to not appreciate the full kind of magic that our planet has to offer. And the second part of that is an awareness that this is not like shallow, or it's not one-sided, or it's not an ignorant way to exist, because like if you focus on the awful things in the world, like for me personally, if I focus on all of the terrible things that are going on, all the terrors in the world, I won't be able to get out of bed, and like what good will I do for the world if I'm just stuck in my bed? So to me, it's like that's the only way to go about things, is to focus on, is to try to find these little magical things in your surroundings in the world that inspire you to keep going, and to, you know, make even more magical, beautiful things for other people to stumble upon. So to me, like that's how I kind of remind myself to look at the world, to kind of maintain this worldview, is to just keep my sense of wonder alive, to always approach things with a sense of, like a childlike sense of wonder, because we just get desensitized to living in this world. I think a lot of the inability to kind of recognize beauty in your surroundings comes from the novelty wearing off. We get so used to seeing trees that they're not amazing anymore. That's where I think the wonder in children comes from, because they're experiencing things for the first time, so the novelty hasn't worn off. And
what is your favorite movie and why?
I think I'm gonna have to go with The Dreamers. It's one of my favorites for sure. I'm not sure if it's the favorite, but it's the first one that comes to mind, so in the interest of saving time, I'm gonna go with it. It's so hard to answer why with The Dreamers, because to me it's, in The Dreamers there's this beautiful harmony. It's like there's so many separate elements to the film that converge in a way that's cinematic magic to me. So it's hard to break it down and to analyze and to specify why. Or which parts exactly are responsible. I can try. Firstly, the cinematography is just exquisite. It's dreamy. Obviously, with a name like The Dreamers, you know the cinematography is going to be pretty dreamy. Also, the actors, the leading trio, their performances are beautiful, of course, but also just their on-screen chemistry together is mesmerizing. It's intoxicating to watch. I mean, it's also the fact that the film explores kind of dream worlds, and like it pits a dream world against reality, and that sort of exploration throughout the film is really interesting. It's something that I'm always interested in kind of talking about and thinking about. It brings you into this dream world, into this fantasy, and puts you front and center. It makes it so alluring, and you're like literally you're watching the film and you're within this dream. Spoiler alert. And at the end of the film, it kind of kicks you out. The illusion is shattered, and you, just like one of the three main characters, are kind of kicked out of this dream world and resume real life, and it's very jarring.
Have you ever seen insanity where you later saw creativity?
Anything that's truly creative or truly innovative, there is an element of insanity, which is like why I think this question is so beautiful, because it's not something you would instantly put together, like creativity equals insanity. But then when you think about it, after seeing the two kind of put together in this way, in the same kind of in the same context, it's like, wait, like creativity is insanity, because to come up with a creative idea or an innovative idea, which like creativity and innovation is pretty close to in my mind, there has to be an element of insanity, because you're talking about kind of going beyond, like you're talking about transcending the status quo, like the way that things currently are, and the way that things currently are is considered the norm. So I think that, yeah, with all creativity there's insanity. Even just like for one personal example, my little short film that I'm working on, once you guys see it, you'll probably be like, what? I mean, maybe not, I don't know, but like the concept, basically like the aesthetic concept to it is pretty weird. So everyone that like sees me filming it or like helps me film it are like, why? You're so weird. I don't understand your vision, but okay, I guess I'll just have to trust you. So I guess it's like other people see insanity where I see creativity. But to answer the question, I don't really know if I see insanity, because like I trust that a creative idea could be kind of out there, and like I don't let that stop me. So I think I've probably grown accustomed to fly. So I think I've probably grown accustomed to kind of like not really seeing the insanity in creativity. But that's an amazing question, Kara.
What is the difference between being alive and truly living?
I think basically the difference between being alive and truly living is being aware that you are alive. And once you become aware that you are alive, in that moment you start truly living. It could be having an amazing life, but if you're like going through the motions, you don't take a second to be mindful in the moment and to like recognize what you're doing. That's where you kind of start exiting. You start kind of becoming distanced from like your existence, so to speak. I guess it basically comes down to like being present in the moment. The moments when you're present and you're like you're conscious of what's going on around you, that's when you're truly living. Like even if you're doing something totally mundane, I think that's like an uplifting way of differentiating between just being alive and like truly living, because it doesn't assume that you have to be doing something crazy or taking these like insane risks or jumping out of an airplane to be truly living. Like you can be truly living even in the most simple moments, as long as you're like fully present. But another thing that I think is important to move from just being alive to truly living is to be constantly like in motion, because I think motion is being alive. So I don't mean just like physical motion, being physically in motion, but just being dynamic and like evolving and going places, whether it's like mentally like learning or becoming a better person, or like just doing things that keep you kind of constantly moving forward. I think that's important, because the moment you become completely stagnant is the moment where you're just kind of alive, you're just kind of existing, but you're not striving, or you're not learning or evolving.
What makes you sad, and what do you do when you're sad?
I honestly think that my default setting is set to sad, because even when I'm happy, and like most of the time I can acknowledge like I'm happy, even if I'm lost or confused or sad, I still know that I'm happy because I'm grateful like for what I have in my life, and I'm grateful for being alive. But even in moments when I'm very happy, there's still like a tinge of sadness, and I suppose it's melancholy is the emotion, not really sadness. And I don't mind it, because like, I don't know, it's not like a debilitating sadness, but it's just like a low-key sadness. And I think it comes from just like recognizing that there's just sad things in the most like beautiful places. Like there's a tinge of sadness in the most exquisite things, and like that's where you get phrases like devastatingly beautiful or like, beauty is terrible. The most, I guess, common origin of that sadness is the fact that like, beauty is ephemeral, like life is ephemeral, things are fleeting, time passes. I just like think there's always something sad in even the happiest things. So even if I'm the happiest thing, there's always sadness present in me. But I think when that sadness crosses over from something that's just like a low-key melancholy to actual like sadness, like debilitating sadness, that kind of prevents me from, sorry. So I suppose what I do is one of like three things. I might let myself feel it and kind of just like let it pass, but like I let myself feel the emotion and then like get over it, so I'm not kind of holding it inside. Or I might do something to get my mind off it, something that I know will make me feel better, like playing tennis, or like exercising, or like swimming, or something like that. Or the third thing that I might do is just to like do something nice for myself, or to just kind of try to make myself feel cozy and create sort of a therapeutic atmosphere around myself, and just do something, like just take it easy. If those things aren't enough to kind of like help it go away or help it subside, and the root of the problem is much greater than just like a bad day or like a sad day, I think what I would do is try to get to the bottom of like what is the source of the sadness and what can I do to change it and get rid of it and to overcome it.
Thank you for answering my questions. I love you.
And thank you to Carol for asking me these incredible questions. I loved them and had so much fun answering them. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to hop on over to check out Carol's video. I'll leave the link to that video and all of her links down in the description so you can check that out. Thank you again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and see you.
Diamonds are forever. Hold one up and then